Imagine red and blue police lights slicing through the quiet of your driveway, flashing so bright they turn your home into a crime scene. Imagine looking through your front window and seeing your 16-year-old daughter frozen on the porch. Overnight bag clutched to her chest, hands trembling, tears sliding down her face as two officers approach her carefully, like she's dangerous. And then imagine noticing Karen, standing at the edge of your property, arms crossed, smiling. If you love powerful stories, you don't want to miss this. But before we continue, tell us where you're watching from. It genuinely makes us happy to see how far these stories travel. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because this story gets wild. My name is Daniel Grayson, and I've been a circuit court judge for over 12 years. After my divorce, my daughter split her time between my home and her mother's. Same schedule, same routine, no problems. Except for Karen. Karen had been HOA president for years and treated the neighborhood like her personal kingdom. Trash cans, grass length, decorations, she enforced rules with obsession. But her favorite hobby was watching people, questioning them, following them. That night, my daughter walked home like she always did. I was reviewing case files when I heard shouting, then police radios. By the time I stepped outside, Karen was already pointing at my daughter. She was sneaking around the back, Karen shouted. I stopped a burglary. I didn't argue. I handed the officer my ID. She's my daughter. The officer stiffened. Karen's smile cracked. I would have known, she said weakly. I looked at her calmly. Apparently, you didn't. And in that moment, everything changed. Karen didn't apologize. That's the part that still amazes me. Instead of backing down, she leaned in, squaring her shoulders like she was still in charge of something. Well, she said sharply, how was I supposed to know? Teenagers lie, and she was acting suspicious. My daughter let out a shaky breath beside me, suspicious for walking to her own house. One of the officers cleared his throat. Ma'am, she had a key. Keys can be stolen, Karen snapped. I watched the officer's eyebrow rise just a fraction. Years on the bench taught me that expression, the moment patience expires. My daughter, I said evenly, uses the side path because I keep the gate locked. Something you'd know if you spent less time spying and more time minding your role. Karen bristled. I have a responsibility to keep this neighborhood safe. No, I replied. You have a responsibility to manage landscaping and parking violations. You are not law enforcement. That's when my daughter spoke again, her voice small but steady. I told her who I was. She yelled at me to leave and said she'd ruin my life. That did it. The younger officer pulled out his notebook. Miss Karen, did you tell dispatch this was a burglary in progress? Karen hesitated, just long enough. Well, I believed it was. The officer nodded slowly. Belief doesn't make it true. Neighbors had begun gathering now, watching, whispering. A few of them stared at Karen with something new in their eyes. Not fear, not respect, recognition. And Karen felt it. For the first time, her voice wavered. I was just doing my job. I looked at her calmly and said, then you should have read the job description. And that's when she realized this wasn't going her way. Karen didn't notice it at first, that quiet shift. The neighbors who had stepped outside just to see what was going on weren't watching my daughter anymore. They were watching her. Mrs. Collins across the street folded her arms. Mr. Reyes shook his head slowly. Someone behind Karen muttered, she did this to my nephew, too. Karen's posture stiffened. She felt it, that sudden loneliness when authority evaporates. The taller officer spoke calmly. Ma'am, we've responded to multiple calls from this address. Most of them turned out to be unfounded. Karen spun toward him. Are you saying I waste police resources? I'm saying, he replied carefully, there's a pattern. That word landed hard. Pattern. I knelt beside my daughter and gently took her bag from her shaking hands. You okay? I asked. She nodded. I am now. Karen scoffed, desperate to regain control. This is ridiculous. I'll bring this up at the next HOA meeting. There are procedures for guests, paperwork, notifications. I stood and faced her fully. My child is not a guest, I said evenly. She's family. Karen opened her mouth to argue, then stopped when I pulled out my phone. I believe board member Jennifer is available, I said casually. She's an attorney. I'm sure she'd love to hear why you called the police on a resident's minor child. Karen's face drained of color. That's not necessary, she whispered. Behind her, a neighbor laughed. Not loudly, just enough. And in that moment, Karen finally understood something terrifying. This wasn't private anymore. This was public. If you're enjoying this story, Please like, comment, and subscribe. Karen thought time would save her. She was wrong. Word traveled fast through Maple Ridge, faster than fines, faster than warnings. Stories poured out, neighbors comparing notes, realizing they weren't alone. An emergency HOA meeting was called. The clubhouse overflowed. One by one, people stood. A grandfather fined because his grandson left a bike in the driveway for 10 minutes. A family Karen had threatened during a birthday barbecue. A widow harassed over flowers in her mailbox planter. Each story peeled another layer off Karen's authority until all that was left was the truth. When the vote of no confidence was called, it wasn't close, unanimous. Karen sat frozen as the title she worshipped was stripped away with a single motion of hands. But that wasn't the end. The police department reviewed her history. Call after call, report after report. Patterns don't lie. She was charged with misuse of emergency services. The morning of her court appearance, I passed her in the hallway. No power suit, no smug smile, just fear. Her lawyer whispered numbers I didn't need to hear. $5,000 fine, 50 hours of community service, banned from HOA leadership for 5 years. When the judge read the sentence, Karen's shoulders collapsed inward, like a building finally condemned. She never looked at me. She didn't have to. Justice doesn't gloat. It simply arrives, quietly, firmly, and reminds people that power without restraint always collects interest, and Karen finally paid in full. The end. Please like and subscribe for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.